I am very happy to welcome Judy Cambler as a guest on our summit today. Judy is a certified Reiki master teacher in the Sui Shiki Ryoho style of Reiki and is also certified in crystal healing. What began as a personal healing practice has now become a lifelong journey in the study and practices of integrative and holistic healing arts. Her training and experience include energy healing modalities like Reiki, crystals, sound, and essential oils. Judy's passion for learning all things metaphysical provides her with opportunities to share knowledge, awareness, and empowerment with all of her clients. She also enjoys practicing yoga and writing articles about her energetic and spiritual practices. Her practices as a spiritual life counselor include providing angel and tarot card readings. She also holds a lot of experience in helping people to ease grief with Reiki. Judy hosts healing sessions for her clients at her home-based studio located in Miami, Florida. Judy is with us today to discuss the power of easing grief with Reiki. Welcome to the summit, Judy. We are so happy to have you with us.
Thank you, Justine, and thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. So, Judy, to start, what guided you to start teaching people about how to ease grief with Reiki?
Well, in my practice, I find that there are many people dealing with unresolved emotions as a result of grief. Whether they've lost someone due to a breakup of a romantic relationship or not having closure, or other relationships in our lives that can cause us pain, like our children, our parents, or anyone who surrounds us. I find people have learned to suppress those feelings because our society looks down on people who need to take time out to grieve. And the reality is that we experience these painful situations and emotions in order to learn from them within the human experience and in order to experience the personal growth. Everyone grieves in a different way, and we shouldn't be judged by our grieving process. So I not only help my clients process those suppressed emotions, but I also help them to realize that there's no wrong or right way to grieve, and there is a need to feel those emotions in order to heal.
That's beautiful. Thank you. So, Judy, you have a lot of experience working with people who have Alzheimer's or in another care facility for another reason. Is it important to ground yourself before visiting care facilities? And if so, how do you successfully do it?
Yes, absolutely. I feel it's important to ground when we visit nursing homes or hospice facilities, hospitals, anywhere where we have a loved one that's undergoing treatment or care or in end of life situations. I had my own personal experience with Alzheimer's, and I wish I had known then what I know now about preparing myself for spending time with loved ones with this illness. My paternal grandmother had Alzheimer's for about 15 years, and 10 of those she spent in a nursing home. I was the main caregiver, and I also had to plan her funeral services because my father just could not handle the thought of losing his mother. So this is where much of my experience comes from. And again, I wish I had known then that some simple grounding exercises like breathing, intention setting, and the use of protective and grounding crystals prior to spending time with my grandmother, I could have felt much better about the visits. And I recommend to those who are caregivers of family members with Alzheimer's and dementia that they ground first by remembering that your loved one is still there. Whether they can communicate with you or not, they're there and they know that you are too. Second is setting an intention that you will feel only love and compassion for them and feel that love radiating out from your heart center directly to that person. And third, I recommend wearing or carrying grounding crystals. And I brought with me a little list of a few crystals to recommend to everyone. And the first one is hematite, which is a crystal I use in every healing session. I place it in between my clients' feet. This crystal works with the root chakra and it assists with diffusing and releasing anger. Because sometimes we get angry at them. It's not their fault that they're sick, but we feel this anger that brings on this guilt, the one we were talking about earlier too. And so we have to think about, why are we angry with them? It's not their fault. This crystal assists with building courage, dispelling or releasing negativity and emotional pain. It brings forth emotional balance, self-confidence, self-worth. So you can see why I use it in my Reiki practice as well. And then it builds that it's okay to feel this way. It's a terrible illness, but it's okay. I'm still me, and I'm still going to provide this love that my loved one needs. The next crystal that I recommend is red jasper, which also works with the root chakra for grounding. It helps with physical strength and physical protection. Many times our loved ones who are in health facilities are surrounded by people with varying illnesses, and there is a lot of spiritual energy in these facilities. That red jasper can help by protecting you from those energies. It is almost palpable, the sadness that you feel when you walk into places like nursing homes, because they're sad places, unfortunately. And we live in a society where family members have to work, and many of our elderly family members end up in these facilities because we don't have the time or the ability to care for them at home, which again brings that guilt. And I'm very familiar with that guilt. And the third crystal is clear quartz. This crystal promotes acceptance and emotional balance, emotional healing, stabilizing friendship, harmony, joy, because we must feel that joy of just being with them, just having one more day. It also works well for perseverance and reducing stress and tension, because this situation will create an internal tension when you think about having to go into the nursing home. And you must witness all the pain in those facilities. It is emotionally stressful to have someone you love living at an assisted living facility or a nursing home or even hospice. So afterwards, you will need grounding also. And I suggest taking things like salt baths or using a salt scrub with essential oils. And here's another quick list of essential oils that I recommend in these situations. Patchouli brings about balance, stress-related emotional disturbances. Spikenard is a sleep aid and a muscle relaxant, and it helps with stress. But a cautionary note about spikenard is that this essential oil is very potent because of the sedative qualities. It comes from valerian root. And from my own training and experience, use this oil gingerly because it is very powerful. For example, like if you're a person that suffers from low blood pressure, you don't want to use spikenard because it's going to relax you too much and your blood pressure is going to go way too low. Someone with high blood pressure could use spikenard because it will calm them, calm down their blood pressure. And then there's vetiver, which is a protective oil. It's also used for grounding, and it gives you a feeling of safety. And for those of you who don't have crystals or essential oils, taking a walk in nature and feeling gratitude for the experience and for the ability to have this person in your life is another good way to ground yourself. You can also set the same intention of love and compassion for yourself. Send love from your heart center because you are doing a good. You are participating in their care. You're doing the best you can for that person. And they do appreciate it even if they are unable to acknowledge it.
Those are amazing tips. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, how can Reiki be used to help someone who is about to transition?
Great question. And again, it's something I wish I had known when my own family members had passed. Many times our loved ones hold on to life because in their consciousness, they fear the death and they fear the unknown. They also fear what would happen to their family once they're gone. So without interfering with the process of their passing, using distance Reiki, I would ask for permission from their guides and guardian angels to connect with their aura in order to beam Reiki into their aura, intending that my assistance helps them to release any and all fears of passing on. I would also ask their angels and guides to release them of any energetic cords that are binding them to the physical world, such as fear, so that their transition can be more peaceful.
I think that's really important. I know that my grandmother had Alzheimer's, and she had a lot of fear about leaving. She also loved Reiki, and so I found Reiki to be really helpful with that.
Yes.
So, can Reiki be used to help hospice workers and friends and family of the person who is about to transition? If so, can it help both before and after the transition takes place?
Absolutely. Most times hospice workers, family, and friends are the ones who need Reiki the most, believe it or not. Hospice workers witness the passing of their patients daily. And depending on how long the person is in transition or is in hospice, many times those hospice workers establish a friendly relationship with the family and the friends of the patient. So they not only lose their patient, and that's expected, but they also lose contact with the patient's family members who they've become connected with over the course of their loved one's stay in the hospice center. There is the possibility for a beautiful healing that can take place once a patient passes by sending distance Reiki to all the hospice staff that have met your loved one, as well as the friends and the family. Someone who's a Reiki practitioner who has a level 2 certification and works in a medical care facility could practice the same beaming exercise by setting the intention that their presence and their ability to channel Reiki to all those present assists in the highest and greatest good for all of those who are present while the patient is transitioning. In my opinion, it would be wonderful if more nurses, and especially nurses who work in nursing homes and hospice centers, could learn Reiki to benefit their patients and the families of their patients. Wouldn't you think?
Yes. And not just the patient, but also benefit themselves.
Correct. Yes, they could, if once a person transitions and maybe it's something that makes them feel down, they can, go into go on in their break room or go somewhere private, give themselves Reiki and release all of that emotion that's tied to the person passing.
I think I would also add and see what your input would be on this, that hospice workers, they have these relationships with family members and friends of the person dying, and probably, the nurses too, but they also see a lot of people at their worst because of how emotional the situation is. So they're just picking up energies that a lot of people don't usually see on a daily basis. And to them, it is every day.
Right.
So
And
Reiki is just incredible for that.
yes, not all families are the same, and some have a lot of real drama going on, and they bring that into the hospice or the hospital. So, and what if a person is transitioning, what if there's an issue with the estate that needs to be divided, and they have heated discussions in front of the loved one who's transitioning. That's where Reiki could be beneficial because it could be used to calm everyone down.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not everyone has the insight or tact to leave those issues to be discussed at a different time. So it would be wonderful for nursing staff at nursing homes and hospices to also have connections with the people, to be able to give them distance Reiki, to be able to calm them down, because the person who's transitioning may not be able to communicate, but they're there. They are sensing all that energy and all that communication. They hear it all because they're still conscious. They just can't communicate verbally.
Do you think that in those cases that maybe Reiki could even be sent to the situation as a whole?
Oh, yes, definitely. Definitely. I mean, you would have to focus on, more so, maybe as the nurse, you don't know what the problem is because you don't hear what it is that they're fighting or arguing about
Yes.
in front of the patient. But you could definitely, see and gauge, with body language and things like that. Oh, that situation needs Reiki. Let me, you know, ask for permission and send some healing energies that way that will calm everyone down and set the intention that that maybe they leave this conversation for another time or outside in the waiting room or the visitor room.
So, how can the power of Reiki guide someone to release and heal from loss?
Reiki is a fantastic tool for releasing grief. Just like Kundalini yoga practice, Reiki helps to move the grief from the root chakra all the way up the Sushumna Nadi, the energy channel that runs up the spine, until it is released. The Sushumna Nadi intersects with each of the chakras with the aid of the Ida and Pingala channels, the male and female channels, that help to move energy up the spine. The energy moves from the root chakra, where our thoughts originate, to the sacral chakra, where our emotions reside, into our solar plexus or our self-awareness, and then it moves into the heart chakra for our heart center or for feelings. Then it is moved to the throat for communication, and the grief can be communicated and expressed. So that's where we want these suppressed emotions of grief to reach, because the expression of this grief will allow for the release and the healing to begin. Once the grief has been moved up the channel and released, our intuition, our third eye chakra, becomes clearer through the healing that takes place. And finally, the release and newfound clarity allows for there to be peace in the crown chakra for our connection with our divine source, whatever that may be. Many of us are taught, or we self-impose the belief that we're supposed to be strong, as we spoke before, and we don't allow these emotions to be expressed. So what we don't realize is that these emotions are meant to be felt, expressed, and experienced so that we may heal from the loss and take away valuable life lessons from that experience. Reiki helps people to connect with those suppressed emotions and release them in order to come to the realization that holding those emotions is only serving to prolong the grief and any subsequent healing that needs to take place. So it is really an amazing experience to watch a person transform from a place of pain and suppression to a place of expression and release. I have clients that I work with on a weekly basis that have all lost loved ones. They come in a state of stress and agitation because mundane things in their lives bother them. But when we touch on that one specific suppressed grief, it all comes right out and they can deal with their regular life in a more peaceful and clear manner.
That's beautiful. Thank you. How can Reiki be used to help us connect with the spirit of our loved ones once they have crossed over?
Well, as the readers will find in my article, From Grief to Peace, I came to the realization that my own loss would end up being one of the biggest blessings in my life. I was always very spiritually connected with my grandmother and with my father because of what I know now as a past life connection. But I remember being at my grandmother's bedside in hospice and thinking to myself, and maybe she was communicating with me on a soul level. At least I like to think that she would be able to help me even more after her transition into the spirit world. So I wholeheartedly believe that she is the one that guided me just a few short months after her passing to experience Reiki and then learn it. I think distance Reiki is a good way to connect with our loved ones and ancestors. Things like sending distance Reiki to your sleep cycles before bed and asking them to connect with you in your dreams is one way that Reiki can help us communicate with our loved ones. They really can help us from the other side. The 10 years we lost with my grandmother while she was suffering from Alzheimer's and she did not communicate. Had I known Reiki back then and had I known how to connect with my third eye, it would have made such a difference. And this experience would have been totally different because I could have communicated with her on a soul level. It just would have been so different. At
Yeah.
least with Reiki and meditation, we can communicate with them without interfering with the soul work that they're doing on the spiritual plane too, because, they're busy up there.
Okay, so Judy, before we say goodbye, I would like to ask, if someone wants to start easing their grief with Reiki, what is the number one thing they can do today to get started?
Well, I would suggest that they begin journaling. I encourage all of my clients to begin the practice of keeping a journal. Some of us fear writing things down because we don't want someone else to read what our innermost feelings are, right? Like who's gonna find my journal and read all the stuff that I've got in there? Or we fear losing control of our emotions while we're writing because we don't want to feel that. We want to keep it suppressed. And writing opens a communication channel. It can dig deep into places that we sometimes prefer to ignore, or a lot of times prefer to ignore. I would say that dedicating a Reiki journal just for releasing emotions would be the one place I would start in order to begin the healing process. Holding that journal in both hands and sending Reiki to yourself and to the emotions expressed in the journal with the purpose of creating a healing energy within the pages of that journal and within yourself. So before you begin writing, you would use the distance symbol, Honsha Sojanen, and the emotional healing symbol, Seheki, once you're done writing for that day, and then closing it up with Shokurei to empower the healing that has just taken place. That's my number one suggestion for everyone. What's the first step that I want to do?
I think that's a really powerful idea. I do not do that. I think I might start doing that. That sounds really great.
It's a good way to start the process going, and then you can sit down and you can remember what you wrote and then work on that specific area of you that needs healing the most, whether it's, the root chakra or the sacral or even the solar plexus, because that's where our ego resides. That's where our personal power resides. And feeling grief and expressing grief makes us feel weak, or we perceive it as a weakness. So I think that that's a great segue into how am I going to get this healing done?
Well, also, I would say, at least for me, it makes it real when you see it on paper. It's not just floating around in your mind.
Right, right. And it's not like writing intentions where people are like, oh my God, if I write that down, it might come true.
Yeah.
No, because you started out intending that this is healing writing for you. You started out that this is going to be with the purpose of releasing. any emotions that you've got trapped inside your body that eventually become disease and illness.
Okay, thank you so much, Judy. Those are awesome tips.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure.
Judy has 5 special offers just for our summit listeners. These are very generous offers, and I'm going to go through all of them quickly with you guys. Her first offer is an $800 Reiki Practitioner Empowerment Series, which is a 7-week series covering an empowerment of each chakra per week. She will provide a discussion for each chakra, a live video for each chakra, as well as a one-on-one call with each student. Her second offer is a $400 Chakra Healing with Crystals course. This is a 7-day course with crystals and essential oils for each chakra and a bonus PDF with instructions on making body scrubs. Judy's third offer is a $175 Reiki Healing for your home office. This is a 60-minute virtual call that shows you how to go room by room and how to empower each with Reiki. Her next offer is free for Summit listeners and is all about household items for spiritual cleansings. This will be a free downloadable PDF on her website and is based off of her previous live webinar. Judy's final offer is a $125 Helping the Healers one-on-one Skype call. This call is to address issues you may be having with clients, getting the right healing done for different clients, and other things of that nature. You are able to email up to 3 questions to be discussed during the Skype call. To take advantage of Judy's Summit listener specials, please look up the links on the Spring Summit online page or visit her website at www.lovinglightreiki.net. Attendees to the summit can use the promotion code ReikiRaise on Judy's website to receive an additional discount for signing up. Thank you so much for being with us today, Judy.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. I love to bring forth awareness for all of our listeners, and I want to show my appreciation to all of my supporters from Reiki Raise that like and comment on my articles. So thank you for having me.
I think your interview and all of your offers will help many people. Thank you so much.
Thank you.